gentleman I'm about to bring to the stage, and he needs no moderator. I'm going to go take a break and let him run this show as he sees fit. You guys do know the rules, though, and I appreciate that. I see you guys already out there lined up and ready to go. The thing that's remarkable to me in particular about Q is the impact that it made on sort of our collective, not board-like, maybe board-like memory of the episode of the shows when he really was just in a few, but it's just, in fact, Nerdist listed it as one of the top 10, one of his episodes, top 10 episodes of Star Trek ever, which just goes to show you what a talented actor he is. Let me please welcome to the stage right now, John De Lancie, come on out!
I have nothing to say. All right, so let me tell you what I have been up to recently. Not too long ago, actually. This is now back a couple of years, but I think it's worth saying. I have a sailboat, and I've been a sailor for all my life. I started when I was around 10 years old. And I sailed from Ventura, which is near Los Angeles, to across the equator to the Marquesas, to the Tuamotus, which is the largest coral archipelago in the world, and then over to the Society Islands, which includes Tahiti. And then I put my boat up, and then the next year, I took it all the way back up, you know, in the kind of the backbone of the Pacific there, all the way back to Los Angeles. So that was quite an adventure and something which I wanted to do all my life, and so I did it. I am, for those of you who are interested in My Little Pony, oh really, I just thought there'd be one or two of you. I'm told that in December I'm going to be doing some more. And most excitingly, and which is why if you were backstage you would be seeing me going, memorizing lines, I am going back to Washington, D.C. to play, to do a new play by a very, very major playwright in this country, John Robin Bates, and the play is called Vicuna, and I play a man called Kurt Seaman Trump. I'm actually playing somebody who looks like, or not looks like, but behaves like Trump. Back in our capital, so that should be very interesting. Very interesting. All right, with that in mind, who wants to go with the first questions? Yes.
First, I wanted to say Discord and Fluttershy forever. Just had to get that out.
Okay.
And I wanted to ask seriously, if you could play any fictional or historical person at all, like you had complete choice in a Peter Jackson budget, who would you, what?
Hey, I'm playing Trump. How more current could that be? I played a character which meant a great deal to me a number of years ago now.
Q?
Oh my God.
Q?
Lord Byron. And that was great fun to play. I also played another character called Raoul Amundsen, who was the explorer who discovered or got to the South Pole first, and that was fun. You know, I don't really. I know friends of mine go, oh, I would love to play that, or I'd love to do this, or I don't really think of things that way. So When they come, I'm delighted, and most of the time I don't really think about it in advance. Okay, next. Yes?
In Life the Pony, when you were at Discord, did you like being good Discord or bad Discord more?
Well, what do you think?
I don't really know.
Really know? Well, I guess I like bad Discord a little bit more. Yeah. I mean, don't you think I should? I mean, shouldn't you? Okay, next.
So as an actor, you get to do a lot of cool things. You get to see the work before it's put onto the screen, before the audience does. What is it like seeing your work transformed as the final product?
You know, I don't really like watching myself, other than I have a room of mirrors and I go. I don't really like watching myself. It makes me very nervous and what have you. Sometimes I see myself years and years later. But where I usually see it is in the looping or ADR, which is, you know, you go in to fix not really fix a line. If the sound went out, if they had like a, I don't know, a car or a truck or an airplane usually, they say, you know, we need this sentence again. And there I will see myself. And I kind of go with a little bit of trepidation because I go, oh my God, it's going to be terrible. And more often than not, actually, truly more often than not, I've gone away going, oh, actually that was not bad. But I have a lot of you know, concern. And also I don't have a television at the house, so I don't see things like that. And so there you have it. Yeah.
You know, I have a question about fan films or unlicensed productions or whatever you want to call them, and a lot of Star Trek cast members or guest cast members like yourself have appeared in those, like you in Star Trek Continues. So I'm curious as to what prompts sort of a professional actor to participate in a production like that.
Well, in that particular production, that is not unlicensed, by the way. That was done with the I don't know what the word is exactly, the legal word, but it was sanctioned by CBS. And I did it because it was sanctioned. And I didn't go, oh, well, it's just really sanctioned by CBS, so I can't even look at it if it isn't. But it was sort of part of me asking, how do you get to do this? And they go, oh, well, this is sanctioned by CBS, and we're doing 10 of them, and this is our last one. So, and then I go back to what almost every actor does, and that is I say, well, send me the script. Let me see the script. And he's talking about a show called Star Trek Continues, is it? Yeah. Which was the classic Trek, which is like, I don't know, 65 to 68, was that it?
69.
60, okay, 69. And then when were the movies started?
1980 to 78.
Okay, so the notion was that this was spanned that period of time.
5-year boy.
That's right. So I looked at it and I went, wow, this is a very acceptable script. And then when I said I would do it and I flew there, I had a really interesting experience, and that is that I saw the set. You know, it's in a warehouse in Georgia. This kind of like, I don't know. I mean, this is. I hope it's good quality. I hope everything is good. And I got into the warehouse, and they said, "Let's take this. Let me take you." Vic said, "Let me take you around to look at the different sets." And they were perfect. They were just perfect. I said, "How did you get them like this?" And he said, "Oh, well, we had the original colors and the blueprints and things like that." And then I was able to stand there, and it really took me back in time. And I go, one of the things in which I was struck by were the colors. The colors are, many of them are kind of primary colors. And And I was reminded that this was just at the period where NBC, the Peacock, say, NBC, we're doing color now, and what have you. So there were a lot of kind of historical things of significance that I enjoyed about that show. As well as, of course, working with people. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Star Trek Next Generation. He likes to play a lot of games with people, and I was wondering if you had a game you like playing.
You mean other than the one where you put a bullet in and you can do like that? You mean, do I have a game in personal life that I like playing?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I'm not a big game player. I'm not. Yeah, okay.
Hello, sir. I'm a really big fan of your characters, you in Star Trek. I just wanted to ask if you would be interested in reprising your role as Q in the new Star Trek Discovery series.
Well. You mean as geriatric? Oh, it's a free series, so I just look like I have whatever that disease, that horrible disease is. Looks like I don't think that there's probably much concern about them asking me, so it's easy for me to say yes. Yeah, go ahead. Next.
My name is Tyler. When you were playing Discord, did you like playing as him?
Did I like doing what?
Being him.
Yeah, and you know what? This is going to come to you as probably a surprise. But while they hired me, thinking, oh, it's a character just like Q, I didn't know any of that. So, you know, I don't go around the world trying to be Q. You know, I played it once, 9 episodes, and that's sort of the end of it. When I looked at the material, I went, oh, this is sort of like, no, you're not going to know who this is, but Oscar Wilde. Very flamboyant, very mercurial. One could say not unlike Q, but I was not thinking of Q. And yes, I do enjoy playing. Yes.
Hello. Out of all the characters that you have voiced, which is the most entertaining and why is it Alar?
I just did some more, what is it, Heroes of the Storm, last week for Alarak. So your question is really about Alarak.
Yeah, pretty much
Sort of.
every voice that you've done, which one is your favorite?
I don't know. I mean, you know, I look at it from, you're looking at it from this side in, and I'm looking at it from this side out. Okay? So Alarak, I mean, I keep on teasing the producers because I kept on saying, I play this character on this show called StarCraft, and Alarak has the most intense anger management control problem of anybody that's in existence. And I kept on saying to them, you know, we need some respite from that. Wouldn't it be great that you did a little scene where Alarak is just by himself and he's taking his hair down, although he doesn't have any hair. He's taking his hair down, and what he does is sort of calm down his watercolors. You know, we need something. It's fun to do it because I enjoy seeing the people and what have you. But for the most part, it's all the same. You know, you stupid human beings. You know, it's all this type of stuff. It's just like, oh my God. All right, next.
My question is on the video game Star Trek 4. It was made in the 90s, and it was didn't have 3D graphics. It had video sequences, and the player chose which direction to go, and then one video sequence was played. And I really think think you got really personal with the fans. You waved at the camera, and when the player got angry with you, they were able to strike you, kind of like Cisco did on Deep Space Nine.
And did you like that?
It's great that they thought of that. And also, you wrote character when the user did a stupid move. They said cut, and that person, the board just walked off scene. I'm wondering if you had a role in determining how that game went in writing the script. So,
I don't think I had a role. It's a very long time ago. A lot of duties. I don't recall having a role in it, but I remember sort of improvising a little bit, and it's very possible that I threw a couple of, if you say I did, if I threw a couple of looks right into the camera and acted that. I mean, it was much more involved than I thought. And when I said, sure, yeah, of course, like that, and then I began getting these reams of script, and I was like, oh my God. But I'm glad. I assume you enjoyed it.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, okay.
And you wouldn't have the trouble with George McCloskey on the player. So that's
okay, perfect.
And a second question, do you think your personality is similar to Richard D. Anderson in Stargate? Like Winston Cole and Cole and J.D.?
You mean is his personality similar to mine?
Yeah.
He's close. Yeah.
Hi, I know that science doesn't get a lot of awards, but I think you're definitely one of the most overlooked awards for best supporting or best actor in a series. I guess that's one of and as a true Trek, we have to point out that when you said 9 episodes, it's actually 13 when you count Deep Space Nine as Voyager.
No, it isn't. I actually sat down and counted it. It's 9.
Okay, I'll double check.
Yeah. Fact check. I'm a god, okay?
Well, we have a bunch of Wikipedia here. Yeah. And speaking of Voyager, some of my favorite episodes were you with Kate Mulgrew. How did that experience?
Kate and I have known each other for very many years, so it was fun. The only problem, and I've said it before, is that they were so concerned that Kate/Janeway would become enthralled by Q that they kept on saying, there cannot be anything, it's got to be really business and stuff like that. And I kept on going, as actors, the two of us would say to the producers, you're taking a major color off of our palette to use. And it's too bad because we can play with that palette, with that color. We can get in very close, and the audience is going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, and then pull out and back and forth and do that thing. But if you keep on insisting that there be nothing there, it leaves a little bit of a hole in the center of the screen. That said, it's always great to work with Kate. Yeah.
In My Little Pony, what was your favorite part about being Discord?
It's kind of repetitious.
Well, I like being naughty. Too good is too boring after a while. Don't you think? Okay.
Hi, Mr. De Lancie. My question, I have kind of like a twofer because I just realized how much you remind me of Vincent Price. It's amazing. And I would really love to see
I did a show with Vincent Price. I think it was called Time Train.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I will look that up.
It was in the Pleistocene. Very long time ago.
But if
and his wife, Carol, what was her name? Carol, wonderful actress as well, okay.
Anyway, it just distracted me a little bit. I was wanting to ask you about the beautiful episode you did of Voyager called Death Wish, and what you did with Garrett Graham in that. I thought that was an amazing episode. How was that to play?
Well, that was a very, I have a number of different feelings about that. I mean, Michael Piller and his son wrote that. Michael Piller passed away way too young. I think he was 58, 59 years old. Michael Piller, you mentioned Star Trek. He was the executive writer on Star Trek, but he also wrote Legend, which is another show that I did with Rick Anderson, who's not as funny as I am, but is. And I thought it was what Star Trek, for me, the character of Q and what Star Trek does the best is that it's about something. I have to say that when I see Star Trek now, which is mostly like an action film, I kind of go, yeah, but you know what? There are actually other action films that are even more action than you are, and they are therefore more actiony. But what Star Trek does best is be about something, and here was the issue of, does immortality actually get to the point where suicide, you want to end it? You know, I don't remember exactly what the theme was, but it was about something that was important, and so it was nice to do. As opposed to, let's say, you know, I did an episode with on Deep Space Nine that does Q love Vosh, as I recall. And you kind of go, who cares?
Thank you so much, though. It was beautifully done.
Okay. Yes.
In your professional opinion, what is the opposite of hamburger?
I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
Like I said, it's opinion.
Okay.
What's your gut reaction?
About hamburger?
What the opposite of hamburger is?
I don't know. Fish.
Good one.
This is why I didn't do well on SATs. Okay.
In My Little Pony, which one's sweeter? Cotton candy clouds or chocolate milk rain?
Well, what do you think?
Cotton candy clouds.
Oh, well, I agree. Oh my God. Yes.
If you could perform any book on tape, what would it be? If you could do a narration of any book, what would you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. I'm very dyslexic, so you know, the minute you say that, inside of me, my tension level goes like that. So you know, I'm not looking forward to reading a book. I mean, I read a lot, but not. I mean, no. There's some people who are fantastic at it, and I am really down there. So I can't tell you. Okay.
Hi, I would like to ask you about alien voices. If you remember the recordings that you did with Leonard Nimoy.
Yes, I do remember.
I'll sit with you. Can you talk a little bit about how those came to be to the best of your recollection and what it was?
Wait a minute, whose deposition is this?
Can you just talk a little bit about what it was like to record those two?
I wasn't in the room. I was directing War of the Worlds for LA Theater Works. And the casting people, the person who runs runs LA Theater Works, said, I got Leonard Nimoy. And I said, great, well, I'm going to talk to some of the people who I know on Star Trek Next Generation, and I will see if they would like to do it. I don't remember exactly. I think Brent was in it. Gates, I think, was in. So I got a bunch of actors together.
Oh no, this is the conversation that you and Leonard had as Q and Spock, right? Yeah. The two of you.
And you asked me to speak about alien voices.
Ignore me. That's fine.
You're like my wife.
She absolutely didn't put me up to this, I swear.
Okay. So at the end of that recording session, which went out live for national radio, public radio, I said to Leonard, did you have a good time? And he said, yes, I had a great time. And I said, well, I have this idea. I would very much like to do adaptations of classic science fiction works. And I would like to create a company, and I'd like to, if you'd be part of it, and we could call ourselves Aliens Voices. So he said, yeah, let's do it. And that's how it came about. And for about 4 years, we did, I don't know now, 12 different shows. We also went over into Sci-Fi Channel and did them as stage shows. We then moved into Star Trek, which was sort of the 800-pound gorilla in the room. So we moved into that, which was Spock versus Q, and that's how that all came about. But at the end of about 4 years, which is a long time, actors don't work, we're not really, we work on projects. We don't work on, we have a job for, 10 years or something like that. So after about 4 years, as much as we were having fun doing the work, our job was also selling them through Simon & Schuster, through New Line, through pitching them, going to Disney, Sci-Fi Channel, and it's not what we did. It's not what we do. And one day we just looked at each other and went, the end. So that's a little bit about it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Not now. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Hello. I'm Suzanne. I've always had a crush on you from the time you started till now. But so my question is, when you're not doing anything related to the industry, what is your favorite hobby that you like or enjoy?
I just sit around the house being really curmudgeonly. I am very difficult to live with. What is my hobby? Well, I told you my main hobby, which is sailing. I also used to write a lot of stuff. I had another career, a parallel career for about 15 years with symphony orchestras, major symphony orchestras, most of the major symphony orchestras in the US, Canada, Australia. I had a series at the Disney Hall in Los Angeles called First Nights, which was kind of what I like to call adult children, children's concerts for adults. I was the host of the children's concerts, the actual children's concerts for 4 years with the orchestra. I wrote a series of what I call kind of didactic evenings, which were theatrical evenings that would take the audience back so that they would understand what it would be like, what it was like, had been like, for the opening of Stravinsky's Rite of Spring, or to have been a composer during the 50s in Soviet Russia with Prokofiev. So I did a lot of that, and I went all around the country. Yeah.
Hi, I'm a huge fan of your character on Star Trek Next Generation. I always look forward to your next episode. I can't say that I've seen every episode of every Star Trek series, but I can say I've seen every Q episode of every Star Trek series. And my question is, what is your favorite Q episode?
I think the last one, which was All Good Things, for the next gen. It sort of encapsulated all the things that I wanted to do. I mean, you know, I did not have, I still think it was 9. I had 9 times. So I think of it as sort of a diamond in the rough where I get to cut 9 different facets. And I looked at that show when I first got the script and I went, okay, what have I not cut yet? What part of this character could be revealed through the scene, or organically revealed, not just imposed, but organically revealed through the scene? And that was the one that I thought, you know, I had now done it 6 times or so. Yeah, but that's true. I'd only done it 6 times in terms of being able to get a run at it. So I had a little bit of ideas about what I would like to finish this character with. So, and all of those things kind of came together in that episode. Yes?
John, you were the first villain on the first episode of a 1980s TV revival of a classic 1960s TV series. And I'm talking about, of course, Mission Impossible. How familiar were you with the original series, and how much of a fan were you of the original run of Mission Impossible when you did that show?
Oh, I knew the show. I alluded to the fact that I was really dyslexic, and so my parents pulled the television out of the house. So I really did not grow up with television in the same way that many of my friends did, which was probably good. I knew the show. That was an interesting, I had been offered actually the role, interestingly enough, I had been offered the role of the Martin Landau role. And I was back in New York and I was flying to Los Angeles to get ready to go to Australia. And my agents called and they said, they're not going to be able to hire you for that role. I said, why? I mean, what? Why? He said, they have switched and they have given you the villain. I said, well, yeah, big deal. I mean, one is a series regular and the other is an episodic, you know, one-off. The problem is that they have 60% Australian content. And so they are at their limit. And they have to find an Australian. I went, oh, shit. I said, okay. And the irony is that the Australian that they found was a friend of mine who I worked with, who was a good in Los Angeles, named Teo Penguin. And he got one. Other than that, the director was somebody who had done Star Trek. I had done Star Trek with, who I liked a lot. Oh my God, I don't forget his name. And it was just fun. I mean, you know, you're shooting on the sunshine coast in Brisbane, and it was just fun to do. Yeah.
Hi. Major fan of Q, and you had talked about your knowledge of the character and various places to divide and show the character of Q and all his infinite possibilities. And I was wondering, knowing the character as well as you do, if you, as Q, could have one more episode with Picard after Nemesis, what would it be?
I can't say that. I don't know. I'm terrible at these questions because I never think, you know, the thing about our business is this. People will say, well, you know, like somebody said, well, what about whatever the name of the new Star Trek?
Discovery.
It's sort of like being worried or concerned, or just letting it be in the back of your head as to whether you're going to be invited to your friend's dinner party. And you kind of go, oh, I don't know, am I, what would I bring? I would, and then I could do, but you haven't been invited. So you can spend a lot of time, I hear actors sometimes spend a lot of time just like that. And you kind of go, so I never ever, it's not like I used to do it and now I don't. I just never did it. So I never think of that. Thank you. Yeah.
Like, just to clarify, you only had 12 Q episodes overall.
Wait a minute now. The two of them are MOWs and they count as 2 each. Okay, but I only count them as 1 each. So see if that's the case. An MOW is a movie of the week. Like the first episode of Encountering Farpoint is often counted as 2.
Yeah.
And the last, next, whatever it was called.
All Good Things.
All Good Things is often counted as 2, but I only count it as 1. Or I only count it as singles.
You had an 8 on Next Gen and 1 on...
No way! No, that's absolutely not right, because 1 year they skipped me. Come over here.
You did have 8 on Next Gen. Which Star Trek character do you think...
Well, you're going to have me looking tonight.
Which Star Trek character do you think you're most like?
Q. Got him back.
Hello, I want to say first thank you for coming to Rose City Comicon. I really Mine's kind of a 2 question. One's a small one. Can you let us know any spoilers or upcoming episodes with you in My Little Pony? And then,
Yeah, I've told some of the little kids who come up, all the ponies, I take them to the glue factory. Just to look around.
and then the other one is, can you describe your first time?
I love seeing the little kids, the tears.
I was just going to the second question.
Was that your big question or your small question?
The second one would be, can you describe your first convention where people came to see you and the emotions around that?
I don't know if there were that many emotions. I remember, yes, I do remember. I was asked, within a year or so to go to a convention, I think it was in Florida. And I'm seeing everybody dressed up. I'm going, what are they doing? It's like Halloween in July. I had no idea. Now, I say that because about 3 days, 2 or 3 days into shooting, I was just sitting or standing on the set. And, they were doing a setup. They were changing things around to get ready, for us to get ready to go back to work. And I hear this voice behind me say, you have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. And I turned around and it was Gene Roddenberry. And I said, what do you mean, Gene? And he goes, oh, you'll see.
Whose idea was it for your son to play your son on Star Trek, and who had more fun, him or you?
Oh, that's sort of it was not my idea. I didn't know anything about it. I got a call, or maybe my wife got a call from our agent saying, because there's a thing called, the way it happens for agencies, there's a thing called the breakdown service, which is all the scripts that the studios, the networks, and what have you, send it to the breakdown service. They read the material, they then identify what characters are needed, their age, a little description of the character, blah, blah, blah. And then those breakdowns are then sent to the agents all over America. I mean, everywhere. And the agents go, oh, and then they read, Q's son. So they called, I guess, I don't recall taking the call. I think they might have called my wife. And they said, they're looking for, an actor to play Q's son. Do you think that Keegan would like to do that? And I think Keegan was like 14 or so. And she said, I don't know, I'll ask. So Keegan said, sure. I go, yes. And I said, you're going to have to audition for this and everything else. So he auditioned 2 or 3 times. He got it, presumably over other people who were not as good as he was. Obviously there's a cachet there in the fact that we looked a little bit the same and what have you, but they wanted to make sure that they weren't going to get a clunker. And now, working with him, I can't say that it was great fun. For this reason, when you are working with somebody on stage, you are in your zone. It's like a tennis player, okay? You are playing the tennis and you're sharing the game back and forth and back and forth. But I'm not that concerned whether the other tennis player has a bad toe, or they have something that they're thinking of. That's not about the game. We are nice with each other and what have you, but we don't give our empathy to the other person because we have to actually be in a tournament. Well, working with my son, I was giving all my empathy. My God, how is he doing? How is he doing? And I went, oh, this is actually not the way Q thinks at all. Q couldn't care less. Q was much more looking for an opening, looking for anything that, it's all very fun and funny, what have you, but it's like, but it was very difficult to do that with your son. So that was the complex stuff that was going on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have 2 questions. One is for my mom who couldn't make it up here, and the other is for myself. My mother would like to know what you think of the new Star Trek that's coming out, of course. And I would like to know, what was it like playing an omniscient being? And all the different scenarios and interesting situations that could happen with you being basically all-powerful in Star Trek, of course.
It wasn't too different than just being at home. All of those outfits, that robe and everything else, I just bring that stuff from the house. Yeah. At the dinner table, I step up to kind of a big chair, like that. I don't play omnipotent or omniscient. I play omnipotent, but too stupid to know it. Omniscient, but with feet of clay. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time, it's like somebody who's playing like a king. I'm the king, I'm the king, you know, it gets all like this. And then you kind of go, yeah, but now what? Now what? And the audience goes, okay, you're the king. We got it. You're the king. Got it. It's not what the king is, it's what the king does. And so that's how I play that. And in answer to your mom, I do not have, I don't know what to say about the Star Trek episode that's coming out, or the Star Trek show that's coming out. I haven't seen it. I'm hoping that it will be good and will carry on. Okay, next.
Hi, so two things kind of unrelated. So of course, Q, my dad and I were very resistant to watching the new Star Trek when it came out, but we became fans, which is why you really reminded me of him in the episodes of Breaking Bad. And I was wondering if you could comment on that, and then, because we're very close, and my new husband knows that. The second thing is, I'm also...
I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Commenting on how your process of, like, how you tap into having to deal with a daughter that you loved very much and saw her slipping away. My other question, I'm a theater teacher, and I always like to know, I have a learning disability, and I like to know for my own students who sometimes feel like overwhelmed, like they can't do something. Why did you get into this career? What were your inspirations?
Well, I'm going to answer the first one,
okay.
or the second one first.
Okay.
I got into this, I flunked out of 2 schools by the time I was in the 6th grade. When I was in school, they did not call it dyslexia. They called it being mildly retarded. They called it being slow. And that's really harmful to a kid. And then try being my height, almost my height in the 6th grade, and flunking, and now I'm with these little, 5-foot munchkins who are coming up from the 5th grade. So it really affects you in a negative way. I went to a school, the last school that I went to. The teacher, the woman who ran the school, said, I think that your son has specific dyslexia. I didn't know what that meant. There was no follow-up, but at least it wasn't stupid.
Yeah.
Okay?
I was diagnosed in '83, so
okay.
I understand.
Well, this is earlier than that. So, let's see, that makes me at about the age of 12 or something like that. When I was 14, it was a little tiny school. There were 19 kids who went to school there. Oh, I gotta hurry up. There were 19 kids who went to school, who were in my class, in our graduating class. And we had a wonderful teacher who would come in and he would say, we are going to do Mozart's Marriage of Figaro. What? Okay. Yeah, we're going to do Handel's Messiah for Christmas. And we go, fine. And we're going to do Henry V in March, I think they said. He said, we're going to do Henry V as a little thing at the end of the year. Okay, and De Lancie, you're going to play how? Well, I learned it. I could hardly read it. And unfortunately, right then and there, I learned, I didn't know how to memorize lines, which still to this day has affected me, but in any case, I did it. And there was a man who came to see this production out under the trees. He had come to see his granddaughter, and he was the editor of the Pelican Shakespeare's. And he took my father aside and he said, if your son has an interest, you should encourage him because he has a flair for this. And for me, it was the first time somebody had said something good about me at school. And I grabbed onto that as a life preserver. And that's how I played it. Now, interestingly enough, There are lots. I think I am inherently theatrical, but I do not have many of the skills that make it easy. So, going back to your first question, how do I do it? I work hard. I work really hard. This morning, in preparation for this play, I was up at 7:30 in the morning, and I sat and learned lines until 10:30. I'm going to go back. But that's not what the issue is. The issue is, what do you do with the rest of the day? I'm not going to talk about Fluttershy. All right, one more question. Yes.
My dad recently bought a copy of XCOM 2. We were really big fans of the XCOM series, and I was curious, what are your feelings on your part in XCOM 2?
Wow. Am I in it? What am I in it?
Guys! Wait, what? Guys! Guys, you play Guys.
Who's that? Now, seriously.
And it's one of the characters who's on the side of XCOM. I think there's one.
Is this the show out of England?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. You know what? I never knew the name of that show. They came in, they said, we gotta get on this, and okay, let's do it again, and I never ended up knowing the name. I think it's a really interesting concept, and I believe that they're going to come back to me to sort of hone it and get it up, because I kept on saying, I could be, now that I understand what you're doing here, we could really rock and roll on this, but it's going to take yet another pass. So I would encourage you to do it, but they showed me after the fact, they showed me a lot of what was happening and the docking and all that, and I went, oh, this is interesting. All right, with that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much.